Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, a show we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today. We're relaxing as per usual. I was gonna, because I had a bit of free time to record some stuff, and I was like, okay, I should record something. And then I was gonna be like, I should record 9 Souls because I don't have an episode for Saturday. And then I just recorded Patrick's Parabox instead. So, I mean, it's the folly of puzzle games is that I find them the easiest one to just sort of pick up and record, you know? I'm not going to say they're mindless, because they're not mindless, but they're a lot easier to just be like, okay, you know, I don't need to think. Well, I mean, I do need to think. In fact, that's the only thing I need to do, which is the easy part, I think. Anyway, good evening, everyone. We're in Fawnhallow. It's 9:55 PM on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. Yeah, because if I have other games I need to require a bit more, you know, 1,000 times as this, and you know, I need to absorb myself into the story. 9 Souls, I think, is quite obvious, and I need to like actually get ready and like play the game beyond point mechanically, which makes it quite difficult when you're recording at like 9-10 PM. Not that like I'm not operating at full capacity, but it's sort of like, I don't know. I think a puzzle game's just easier. Anyway, how did D&D go yesterday? It went pretty well, I think. As I said, I think there's basically going to be back-to-back reveals. Like there were some big reveals this time. Some of them which I thought I might have been saying explicitly, I ended up sort of like hinting towards, sort of vaguely, which they might not necessarily know the full scope of, but there's been some other pretty big reveals as well. So yeah, there's certainly a lot that happened. It's probably how I describe it. Yeah. And then next session's gonna have even more. How will the next campaign go? I don't know, to be honest. Well, the next campaign session just is I've got no clue, to be honest. It just sort of will be. But what are we going to talk about? That is a good question. I don't have a good answer for you, I think. I say I think I don't have a good answer for you. Full stop. It's probably the way to put it. So I'm just sort of trying to reflect and just trying to be like, you know, what have I seen? You know, what have we seen? What do we know what's going on? What's something which might be relevant? ATM. And I can't think of something right now, to be honest. But I have a sort of stretch. Honkai Star Rail. And I'm trying new Memories of Chaos. It's surprisingly difficult. You know what? This is where we go to Arsha's games. What do we have conversation-wise? Or what do we do? Just talk about stuff in general, to be honest. Let me think. Why don't we talk about... I'm sort of looking around. Is the Champions Meet final? Has that happened yet in Uma Musume? We're currently in the matching process. We can find out live exactly how well I've done. Although I think it might be in an hour. I don't think it's now. If I recall. No, 1 hour left. So it's another hour. You have to find out tomorrow exactly how well it went for me. Because it's at 10 UTC, and we're in UTC +1 right now, because we're on British summertime. Actually, when do the clocks go back? Now I think about it. That's a good thing to look up. Okay, when do clocks go back? 26th of October. Okay, so not for a while. Might be mighty confusing, if anything. Anyway. Yeah, what should we talk about? Just let me think of a random topic from out of nowhere. You know, I'm perusing around in my brain. Oh, I don't know why it's like puddles of water came to mind. I do have a random anecdote about puddles of water or like wet shoes. I don't know why this came to mind. But there's been a surprising amount of times for wet shoes, because I was thinking about this the other day. Is that I have these pair of New Balance trainers, which I really like. Oh, well, okay, I bought 2 at the time. One was more like a sort of trail shoe, like not quite like a walking boot, but something which is comfortable for like long distance walking, and it's quite sort of rough and tumble, like reasonably waterproof. And then I bought another shoe which is like a nice sort of trainer, which is meant to be used as more of an indoor shoe. I've been using it outdoors because it's really, really comfy to wear, to be honest. And I was just thinking, like, I need to get like another one which is like this comfy from New Balance, but also outdoor, because that one is like a cloth shoe, and it's basically any single time like water ends up getting into the shoe, it makes it very inconvenient, I find, because it just sort of like absorbs everything up, and I'm like, oh no, it's not what I wanted. But I'm trying to find which one is it. A fresh foam? Is this the one I bought? I don't know, it doesn't look quite right, because it's not quite the right coloration, but it might have been those. Except it's these running shoes. Maybe they are meant to be used outside. Underfoot, size and foot, I don't know. I mean, it does look like these shoes. So maybe these are fine to wear outside. To be fair, I did buy white ones, which means they sort of get dirty a lot quicker. Yeah, it says everyday running, I guess. So I guess that means like, could be inside, could be outside. So maybe I shouldn't feel so bad wearing them outside. It just gets really dirty really quickly. And annoyingly, if it's slightly rainy. Like, I love wearing these shoes, like, they're kind of my go-to shoes now. Because it used to be my go-to shoes were like these Chelsea boots. But they're like a bit big and bulky. These ones are like, these are now my new go-to shoes. Whenever I need to like go out, you know, just put some shoes on, don't know what to wear, put those on. It's comfy. Versatile. But yeah, the only downside about them is when it rains, because they're like sort of cloth-like shoes. While I sit big mesh shoes, let's just say, my socks get extremely wet, even in like the tiniest puddle, which is really sad. But I do remember one time, I went to Croatia with a few friends, and I think I spoke about this before. We went on basically a hike around the national park. It was like I think it was like a 10-hour hike, it said. We started right in the morning, and on like one of the earlier buses there, and then like we took one of like the last 2-3 buses back, I think. I'm not sure, like sometime around dinner time. Like we packed lunch as well to bring, and then we just like had like a real late dinner. But yeah, we walked, it was around Plitvice, that national park. It was really lovely, that route. But we did basically the full route, which goes all the way around. And at one part we had to like either climb over like this hill, or you were meant to like walk around like this watery, the clearest water by the way I've ever seen. Because I remember we met like a couple there, and they were like talking about it. They were like taking off their shoes and socks. They were going in the other direction, and they were like, oh, you can just walk through, or you can, you know, clamber up. And then my other two friends, they clambered up, but me, I was just like, you know what, I'll just walk through. Like, how bad could it be? Because I was walking through like some shallow water before with the shoes I had on now, and like nothing got into my shoes or anything. So I was like, this will be fine. And I stepped in, and immediately it like the water went over my shoe, and I went, oh, I messed up. But I was like, in for a penny, in for a pound, I might as well continue. So I just continued walking. And then I did the rest of the hike with wet socks and wet shoes, which was a terrible idea. If I were to do it again, obviously I would climb over the hill, or at least take my shoes and socks off to walk through things. Why didn't I? I don't know. In that moment, I was like, my shoes are waterproof enough, and this is probably not deep enough for me to warrant doing that. And then I took a step, and I was like, I was immediately wrong, but I just powered through. I'm gonna try and see if I can see how long that hike was. It was a while back now. It was a trip we went on to basically after we graduated, as a sort of means to celebrate. So looking back, how many years ago was that? 2019, 6 years ago, my word. Really that long ago, huh? Anywho. It was genuinely a really, really nice walk. I took a picture of a route, and we tried to follow it, I think. So this is in the morning, I guess, when we get there. I took us at what time? 10:42 AM GMT +1. So it was actually a bit later than I thought. And then we finished when? Because I feel like we walked for 6 hours. So maybe it wasn't a 10-hour route like I initially thought it was. It was here. We finished at 4:24 PM. So yeah, about 6 hours of a hike. A very, very casual hike in the end. Like, it wasn't It wasn't particularly hilly or mountainous or anything. It was just like a set path. Really, it was quite lovely though. But for wet shoes, I did fall. I don't remember exact point I had wet shoes, because obviously I didn't take a picture of it, because why would I suppose? Oh no, maybe I did. So I feel like I remember looking upwards and taking a picture of my friends at the top of a hill. But it wasn't this early on, was it? I don't know. Anyway, I was thinking about it because we went on a holiday to Scotland last year. Last year? Yeah, last year, I think. And I brought those two shoes, those two New Balance trainers I had. You know, on one of the days I wore the outdoorsy ones, and it still rained, and I was like, oh, you know, got everywhere. So, you know, I had to leave at home the next day to let them sort of like dry off. So I wore the other shoes, and I just remember thinking, but like, I hope it doesn't rain today. Otherwise I'm going to be rather doomed with regards to how waterproof my shoes are and keeping my feet dry. But otherwise, I suppose it was alright. Keeping stuff dry is difficult with your feet. I think with wet feet is definitely one of the worst of feelings, right? To walk around with. Because it's just sort of like, it's uncomfortable, like, and it's also, isn't it like, I'm not sure if dangerous is the right word, but, I mean, I guess it would be dangerous if you went to the extremes, right? You would have like, risk of trench foot, you know, back in the day, because of, that's what happened, right? People would just be in ankle-deep water for like weeks on end or something, and it would end up causing issues. That's not really what I meant. I guess that's what I'm talking about now. That's something which definitely stuck with me when we learnt about it. When we were studying history and stuff, like trench foot, and how like horrible it was. And to look it up now. Trench foot. Is it as bad as I remember? Medical condition. Tingling, itching. There's probably like photos of it. Yeah, for black and white photos of it were just absolutely awful. Because you can get some like sores and like necrosis or something on it, which goes down to the bone, and it's like crazy. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about medical issues or that sort of thing, because I don't really know. But genuinely awful. Like that's another thing I remember from that studying of history. It was just like, it's a really big thing. Like, it's an absolute morale killer if you're just like in wet conditions all the time, right? Something along those lines, and it's like, whoa, I guess so. I mean, I guess so, like, one anticlimactic way I suppose to say it, but yeah, wet shoes, don't recommend. So I do gotta at some point get myself some sort of like trainers or whatever, with some more level of like waterproofing, which is still as comfortable. See, that's a problem, because these shoes are like an absolute cloud walking on them. They're absolutely, genuinely fantastic. Not sponsored, by the way. Would love to be, that'd be kind of cool. But like, that's our one deficit. The waterproofness. You got to make concessions here and there. But there's also like, what waterproof shoes do I have? You know, not even my Chelsea boots were waterproof. Which makes sense, because they were like made of like a faux leather or something. Well, not faux leather. I don't even know what material it was, to be honest. Because now I think about it, definitely was not a faux leather. It wasn't leather at all. Like some sort of fibrous thing is probably how I describe it. Yeah, I don't even know what I'd wear for like waterproof shoes. I don't really have waterproof shoes. I have Wellington boots, I suppose, but that's not really what I have in mind. I'm probably not really the sort of go-to unless you're really trying to sort of dance around in the rain and splash around in puddles. Did I ever tell that story of the time we went on a geography field trip and we basically had to investigate rivers? That's like the ultimate wet shoe experience. Because I remember I was the only one in my group who actually brought Wellingtons. No, someone else had like trainers, and then someone else had like no, so someone else had like smaller Wellingtons. I had actually like knee-high Wellingtons or something, and someone else just went in river anyway with their trainers. But I remember at the final river we got assigned essentially like the deepest area, and it literally went up above my waist or something. So I don't know why I still went in, but we had to like take measurements essentially, and I think I was the only one from the group who went in that deep. Why, you know, the geography teachers weren't like, oh, you know, you should provide like at least some like Wellington waders or something. Because I went in literally with like tracksuits on and like these really long Wellington boots, which got filled up obviously when I was in the water. Well, my tracksuits actually were pretty good at staying waterproof, I'm not gonna lie. Like my legs didn't actually get wet, weirdly enough, because they were quite like tight, I suppose. So props to those Wellington boots. I think they might have been ski trousers, if that lines up. But the thing I remember is like immediately after that, I forgot, like after that school trip, I had an optician's appointment. So I remember waiting in the opticians with just like smelling of like river water. And it being so awkward. Should ask my parents to like bring me like a change of trousers or something. At least I had a change of shoes and socks, I think. Or maybe I just took off my socks. I don't remember anymore. Anyway, that was somewhat miserable in a way. Because the teacher, I remember, had these Wellington waders, and I just thought afterwards, I was like, I probably should have just asked him if I could have like borrowed them or something. The waders being like these waterproof trousers which like latched on to the Wellingtons, because it was so deep. It was so insanely deep. Why did we have to measure it that deep? Or why did they tell us just to bring Wellington boots as if someone was gonna have like Wellington waders or something? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It's all a mystery. Anyway. I suppose on that note, we're going to round this episode off here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewells. Until next time. Bye-bye for now.